So, in continuation with last session, we'll start with the last para on page number 376. Are you able to hear me clearly?
Yeah, it's quite clear for me. Yes.
You ask me how to know my real address. In the scriptural language, I might say, my address shall be known to you when you have realized yourself. But I shall prefer to reply it as when you become only myself. That means you must begin seeing me in you automatically, not purposely, or when the very same condition gets created in you.
You see, Prasad, when we read these things, we get an idea about the state of mind of our Guruji, of Babuji Maharaj's mind. We are able to know that, and we also get a glimpse that his mind was free from all, he has a lot of love for everybody. Even bad people also he loved. Like there was one office fellow who was trying to harm him, but he never thought of retaliating. But on the other hand, he wished well for the other person, which was earlier days before he started practice also. So you will get a glimpse of his mind that it is all balance, and then unrevengeful nature, and then divine means we start getting ideas that it is simplicity, it is balance, it is compassion, universal love, unconditional universal love. It's called nirhetuka kripa. That means God loves you without any reason. So when you think of that divine light is cleaning your system, or the waves of the bliss are cleaning your, entering your body and remain, the waves of the bliss should, in your mind, this idea should come up in your mind. Then only cleaning will happen properly. So they will come and replace the impurities in your mind and all that. So if it is done ritualistically, you will not be able to. You should have some idea of what is, suppose you're practicing divine bliss, or you're saying, practicing that complexities are getting burnt and going out in the form of smoke. And in its place, the grace from Master's heart is filling up whatever impurities gone on. You should have some idea about it. So reading this, we'll get an idea about the Master in whom the divinity was expressed in its purity, actually. So वो notion रहना चाहिए, actually.
Right.
Then you will start seeing good progress in your practice.
Right. The line which Master says is that means you must begin seeing me in you automatically, not purposely. So for us to be able to
now practice में क्या करते? We will be purposefully
constant remembrance.
The idea I was sharing with Dr. Keshav also, Dr. Dakshinamurti also, I was telling the comparison between I was trying to discuss an aspect of neuroscience where, there is one organ back in the occipital region, just below the back portion of the head, where probably all these 11, 12 and 13 centers are there. That's called the cerebellum, actually. And cerebellum has got more than 60% of the nerve cells. And so far, nobody gave any importance. Only for the last 4 or 5 years, serious research is going on about the role of cerebellum. Earlier, it was thought only to it plays a role in the production and the performance of clean motor movements. Suppose I'm playing cricket or playing volleyball or tennis. perfect synchronized motor movements. All that thing is done unconsciously by the cerebellum actually. So it was, if any lesion occurs, then you will not be able to walk properly. And then, like suppose I want to put my finger like this, I will not be able to do, because so many muscles, flexors and extensors have to be in perfect harmony. That cannot be done. I cannot do like this fast, if that thing. So they thought it was only in the, it has got a role only in the motor function. I mean, perfectly executed motor functions. So nobody thought anything about it. But the beauty here is whenever I want to do any, like I want to execute a perfect forehand stroke in badminton or tennis, that information goes to the cerebellum, and it gives a feedback to my conscious brain. No, this is wrong. You have to do it correctly. So it drives you towards production of a physical motor movement, what you intended to do. Suppose I want to serve tennis, which should fall on the edge of the line. Suppose that intention is there. If that is not happening, this will keep on correcting your next action, next 5-6 actions, still that intended achievement is achieved. So when it is achieved, it becomes a subconscious activity. So you keep on practicing hours together, then you don't have to think. Automatically, you wherever you want, only there the ball will land. So that's how the cerebellum comes into play. But now they're realizing that it has got a powerful role in your emotional behavior, in your addictions, compulsive behavior, and then impulsive behavior also. So suppose if I am holding that all of you are brothers, divinity is present in the heart of all of you, and if that is my intention, and if my thought now suddenly moves away from that intention, says that, nay, they're all different people, they are not good people, they're not practicing meditation properly, they're not following, so they're all not loyal. If I start thinking, the cerebellum will try to correct my thinking towards my intention. So a stage comes when perfection is achieved, then it becomes a subconscious. Then it becomes, you don't have to think, it will become natural. So you hold that idea continuously, then there are certain neurological changes take place, and then at a certain stage it becomes a reflex activity, it becomes a habit. Like you drive a scooter or you learn swimming, afterwards it becomes a habit, no? So that's what we are telling you in the stages of progress. We tell that it goes through 4 stages, the Samipyata, Salukyata, Sarupyata, Sahijyata. So when Sahijyata occurs, then it becomes a, you're not even consciously aware, but you live that condition. So when you're meditating on divine light, which is nothing but all the qualities which I have seen in Babuji, all those qualities will come into you. And then when it is well established, you will not try to know all people as their brethren and treat them as such. It becomes default, automatic default mode of behavior and thinking. So initially, our practice is to see that we achieve that Sahijyata, that naturalness in our condition. That is why we are practicing.
Yeah, I think my point.
I give an elaborate idea so that people know the intention and how to practice. Unless that is achieved, you still require practice. You at no stage you can say that my practice is over. Your practice, you can call it over when it becomes natural. The 10 commandments should become a natural trait actually. You don't have to try to that. I mean, like 4th commandment, be plain and simple. That means your sense organs should be totally disciplined. And then your ears should only listen to noble talks automatically. And your eyes should see only what is good and pious. All those things will become spontaneous lived behavior.
So constant remembrance practice
is a practice to achieve that stage.
Correct. Go to the next page. So that means you must begin seeing me in you automatically, not purposely, or when the very same condition gets created in you, then alone shall you be able to know my real address. All this shall come to pass through the practice of meditation. Dear brother, do enter into the field to try for perfection. Take it of me, it is not at all difficult. One has only to give himself up to the one who has negated himself. Everything shall then come to him by itself.
You're not read proper. Take it off from me. बोल तो मेरे से वाप ले लो बोल रहा हूँ.
हाँ, correct.
मेरा condition ले लो बोल रहा हूँ.
Take it off of me.
हाँ, off बोल तो it is there with me. You just take it from me.
So you were referring to the skills, na? I think those are mainly perfectioning the grosser and fine motor skills, right? To an automatic state.
What I'm saying is, this information will give you confidence, because if you give a suggestion which is nothing but an intention, suppose my intention is now to for the next half an hour, my mind should have a feeling of reverence towards master karke mera intention hai samjho. That intention is taken by a particular part of the brain. I am trying to tell you that cerebellum is that area which will act like a, like a compass will tell you turn this way, you're going in the right direction. That is what, now I reconnect that with the 73 message. He says you don't give proper suggestions to the brain. So you give proper suggestions and the suggestion will come into effect.
Right.
So it will see that you are going on the track towards your goal. So that suggestion is actually an intention. Mere thought will not work. आप समझ रहे हो ना आप?
It's a self-suggestion.
No, it is an intention.
Okay.
Intention becomes a suggestion. Superficial ऐसा बोले तो काम नहीं करता.
In certain cases, like
no, you should say that next 1 hour, next 15 minutes, I will do this 9 p.m. prayer correctly as told by the master. I'll be sincere in doing it. Karke intention form kare to it forms. That's why he says in the trainer's manual also he talks, he says when the trainer, before he does any work, he should form a sankalpa that the work is already done. And then apply the power, it will give the best results. He is asking you to form a sankalpa. Intention is actually right suggestions to the mind. You should think that you're doing your evening cleaning, you should form a sankalpa that you're already clean. The waves of the ocean of bliss have gone and cleaned your entire system. Karke, you form an intention and then start applying. Then you do the process. Waves idhar se gaya, haath se gaya, bone mein gaya, finger se gaya, and it gone out of the tips. While going out of the tips, leke gaya karke, you do apply the will simply, but have the intention first.
Okay.
So then he says the results are very good. He says 100%. He says. So this is a very, so it's written in the trainer's manual. I mean, I'm sharing it with you because it's an important psychological point.
Sir, one question. Can you
Yep.
Suppose in meditation you feel that there is divinity in every person. So with intention, we have to practice that feeling?
Like what I do, like I make an intention for the next 1 hour. I'm walking in the park, and then I hold that intention that everybody is, God is present in every person and everything. That forms, the background structure of your mind.
Okay.
And that controls whatever perceptions appear in your view, in your conscious view actually. And if conscious view, some other thought comes which is fighting with your main intention, it cannot stay. It goes away and then that keeps staying.
Okay. So it's a practice.
It's a practice.
Okay.
It's an enjoyable practice. You will actually feel happy when the mind starts listening to you.
Okay.
So I think in sports, those athletes or performers,
they unconsciously use these principles.
Correct. Yeah.
They don't know the functioning of the mind. Even most of the yogis don't know. But now, because of the advance in neuroscience, all this thing is becoming patent actually.
Correct. So we'll start with another next topic. Constant remembrance. Constant remembrance is firstly that which you are doing. Secondly, when the brain gets tired, the remembrance of that will produce the same effect. The object is deliverance. You have written that the inner condition does not remain uniform but is sometimes extremely subtle and light and sometimes contrary to it. This goes on happening. If lightness and heaviness, which are mutually opposite states, do not come into view, the changeless condition, which is an extremely subtle state, cannot be recognized. Apart from this, when we proceed on to the further point, from the one on which our present subtle abode is, then heaviness is felt. It is felt until the time when the subtle state sets in after removing its effect. And this sequence goes on until we come to such a state beyond which there are no points. Therefore, you might have by now understood that all those things are showing the state of your progress.
The important point, Prasad, it has got a reflection in that commentary in the second commandment. He says, when you continuously look at a thing, the reflection remains in your mind. And if you still continuously look at the same thing, same object, and the reflection also becomes faint, and the stage comes when the reflection also goes away, but only an awareness that something is there in the mind exists. But you still continuously hold on to that awareness, even that awareness goes away, and that's how it describes in the second commandment. Actually, that's what happens in our meditation also. When we sit in meditation, now you close your eyes and then think that heart is beating, you know where the heart is beating. And you know inside the heart, the divine light is present, and it's present all over the body. But everything, for your training, you want the mind to stay at one place. So initially, now the object is the presence of divine light. That thought is the object. So that thought, that vibration in your mind is very grosser actually. So it is in your awareness very clearly. But after some time, you continue to stay on that idea. You will not be aware of the presence of divine. It becomes subtler actually. So there you have to still continue, and then that becomes subtler and subtler. And some stage you absorption takes over, and then you forget yourself. I mean, that's the common experience you have. In that way, the mind becomes subtler and subtler actually. So this is a common experience for all of us who meditate. When you continue meditating, that changes its form, the vibration. Any thought is a vibration. Vibration, like suppose peace can be felt intensely, or it can be felt very subtly, like a feeling of devotion to God can be several shades. It can be intense, it can be very light, it can be very subtle. All those feelings we feel actually. So people who do regular meditation and who achieved a state of vairagya where not many desires are there, they'll be very easily moving to the subtle states of consciousness actually. But since the mind is not used to that subtle state, they want the grosser experience again and again. So this Chitlek program, actually, you'll have a chance to train yourself to live in a subtler state of consciousness.
Yes, I am trying to understand this changeless condition, which is extremely subtle, cannot be recognized. There needs to be some differentiation.
Naturally, you see, आपका mind है ना, mind का structure several layers है. One of the layers which form the structure is the drashta actually, which is almost the subtlest. He is nothing but God only. But because of that, you are aware of various perceptions and all that. Perceptions are occurring different layers of your consciousness actually. So suppose if you imagine this way, cinema mein screen hai and pictures, moving pictures are there. You are able to see the pictures because the screen is static and it is permanent actually. Suppose that screen is also moving, you will not have any experience altogether. There should be one stationary thing for you to know the moving experiences. And that stationary thing in you is the state of balance or the state of changeless state. So you, like if you are, you can, like when you're staying in the station and all that, or when you're flying, you don't know that you're flying. Suddenly when you see another aircraft going, then you know that you're moving so fast. Otherwise, the awareness that you're moving, that speed is not there. Unless a contrast is there, your mind cannot grasp it. Yes. Like when your two trains are moving, when they're in stationary, when you suddenly look this side, you feel that you're moving actually, but when you look this side, then you see the platform is stable. You feel movement when the other is moving. So that is the nature of psychology actually. So you cannot feel God because it's subtler. So the grosser thing will help you to appreciate God. This is a common experience in all our lives.
Right. And the next point, which is basically apart from this, when we proceed on to further point from one on which our present subtle abode is, then heaviness is felt. So I'm trying to understand what kind of heaviness.
No, that is, he is mentioned in the, Sir is also mentioned in Path of Grace, when you move from one knot to other knot, that will be felt, restlessness will be felt.
So kind of, as you mentioned, like frame of reference, like previous state.
Then the whole character is changing. You are moving into, like suddenly, like some warm places, suddenly you go to a cold place, whatever. The total scene has changed, the total inversion of your thought totally. And earlier you were in a stage of Sahajata, you are settled, you are in a state of Layavastha, you are suddenly peaceful. And then the whole thought has taken a reverse and then new condition comes out. And then you feel a sense of discomfort because unless you start getting Layavastha into that condition like that. So the transition is felt as heaviness.
Like while we are climbing a hill, after climbing to certain extent, then there is some experience, then it gets settled to that level, then we go to the next level.
That is a kind of an adaptation or acclimatization. But what I'm trying to say is, you are accustomed to a certain state, and when the state is changed, the change is not so pleasant. So that is, and once you continue to stay in that stage for longer period, you get accustomed to it. That is what is called salokyata. You start moving in that condition.
Correct.
And then slowly you get used to that condition. You develop life as standard. Then you start enjoying, but which is definitely subtler and higher than the earlier condition.
Right.
But what happens, the Abhyasi, because there is no training, no support, he will like to crave earlier peace only. He would enjoy the earlier condition of peace. He feels that he has lost that peace. So he feels that he is not making progress, but actually he is making progress.
Right.
Sir,
Go ahead,
sir, I have a small query. Sir, can the incumbent know which point he is traversing?
Yeah, we have written no in the book. It's all written.
Like which area?
Well, easily, if he notes his diaries and observes, you should first of all develop the introspective skills. You should first learn to do some homework, learn to observe the thoughts and feelings and emotions. They should be able to note it. And then when they note it in the diary, that skill will develop, then they will know clearly. It is nothing esoteric about this. It's all plain science actually. So what kind of feeling or thought arising in you, you only will be able to know. And when you're done enough cleaning and the mind becomes very quiet, it is very easy to know the texture of that feeling which you undergo when you are in a particular state of mind.
It meant when you pass through that phase, you may not know, but once Ayurveda comes, we'll come to know.
If you pay attention, you will know it.
Oh, okay.
If you try to look and study the condition, you will know it. If you don't want to learn about it, you will not know. That's why Babuji has given an example. No, he says, suppose I'm flying from Delhi to Denmark, flight will land. Suppose if I look down in the scenery, I may see different things and all that. If I don't look, still I'm going there. If you try to look, you will know what scenery you're passing and all that. And he says, if you look at the scenery and try to understand, you'll be motivated to practice better. That's the way he has described it. If you know your condition, you'll be motivated to practice better.
Right, sir.
And the next line says the subtler states continue in the sequence until we come to such a state beyond which there are no points. Is it referring to point 13 and beyond?
Yeah, it is a kind of a balanced state where, you know, all the knots are dissolved totally.
Okay. Are there any other questions or clarifications needed? Okay, I'll start with mind region.
These are all highly loaded things. So unless you contemplate, you will not be able to appreciate what Babuji is trying to communicate. Yeah.
Yeah, actually I forgot one question which from the second line, that is when brain gets tired. So in short, we cannot comprehend by using our intellectual capacity.
I also didn't, let me think what he's saying. When the brain gets tired, the remembrance of that will produce the same effect. You see, one thing is, we know that the conscious power of attention is a limited resource. So if you do conscious remembrance, after some time the brain will get tired. But if you use the suggestion, if you allot the work to the subconscious, that will not get tired. So we should learn.
Like Nama Japa will get you tired because then you are continuously using
it's a well-known phenomena that your conscious power of attention is limited resource. So there are several experiments they have done where, you know, the subjects were given a task to do some intellectual task for which there is no answer. They keep on struggling, and then they exhaust their, some petrol in the car is exhausted, and then afterwards they give some other task. They'll not be of their judgment, everything falters. But people who are fresh, they're able to do the subsequent task easily. So there is a limited resource available in your brain. But then that is why Babuji is saying that you use proper suggestions. So constantly you cannot keep, thought is a wave in the consciousness. No, your consciousness is vibrating. So that vibration is a wave. So you cannot keep the wave static. Ek hi thought Babuji or divine light hai karke. You cannot keep it consciously alive continuously for several minutes. It's not physiologically not possible because a wave falls actually. But the effect moves into the subconscious mind. So you develop the skill to not feel perturbed when the thought doesn't exist in your conscious mind. So you are still confident that still you are in the consciousness of the divine, even in spite of there being no conscious thought of master or divine light. So that confidence you'll have as you practice.
So constant remembrance need to be based on suggestion, not based on the doership.
No. Don't take me like that. It is constant remembrance is it's a practice. It can be done in the sense suppose now I'm just turning my awareness into my heart. Immediately I am sensing some vibration. That's a feeling in my body. I continue to retain that feeling, and that power I have. I can break free from that feeling. I can go and have some tea or coffee or see a newspaper or TV. I can break free from that. But I have the freedom to continue to remain in that space of feeling of tranquility and peace, which is nothing but a kind of a constant. So you have that capacity. It can be done continuously. You only break free because your mind is accustomed to disturbance and excitement, and you are accustomed to, sensory stimulation, even psychic, intellectual stimulation. You see a TV debate and then you're excited, and then you take certain point of view of certain person. You would want to see what that person will speak. If he likes you, you hate and dislike. You're addicted to that excitement actually, and so you will not appreciate the calmness which comes from thinking about the master. So the precise aim of this Chitlek is to see that your excitement for stimulatory things reduces and your brain gets accustomed to this peace actually. So that in a way constant remembrance is there. We are so much bombarded by electronic media, Facebook, Instagram, and then Twitter, and then TV news channels. So brain is generally hyper-excitable in majority of the people. So it is addicted to that excitability. And then so you, even though in your meditation, early morning when you sit in meditation, you feel extremely peaceful. Still, you as if it were you kick off that peace and then go for that excitement. So that is the problem.
Yes. Should I start?
Actual constant remembrance, he raises the point which you have raised. In constant remembrance, in reality at dawn, he says people think that you can maintain the thought of the divine only for half a day. Afterwards, you'll get tired. It is not possible. He says, no, it is not true. It is possible to do it. Only thing is, he gives his other suggestions. He says, before starting any work, dedicate that work to the master, or think that whatever work you're doing to provide food and clothing for your children, think that they're children of God, and then by serving them, you're serving the master. Like that, he gives certain strategies how to maintain constant. He is not asking you to consciously retain the thought of the master plan. He says, you do your work properly. Before doing, you use this strategy. So he says it is not such a hard thing at all. Your brain doesn't get tired. He gives an answer there in that book.
Okay. We start with mind region. Mind region. A few words to review the exact position of Raja Janak as a great saint of his time. He held a high position among saints. The great rishis of the time used to send their sons and disciples to him for higher training. But all his prominence as a saint was due not only to his spiritual attainments alone, but also to his being a king as well. As for his spiritual elevation, he had crossed the region of heart, attaining avyakta gati, which is undifferentiated state, and had just entered into the mind region. Of all the 11 circles of the mind region, he could have by that time crossed only the first one and was lingering in the sphere between the first and the second circles. The mind region, which lies next to the region of heart, is the sphere of ego, which, having been crossed, brings one to the level where ego assumes a rarefied state. Further on, as one enters into the central region, ego is transformed into identity. At early stages, this identity is of a grosser type, but as one proceeds on through the successive rings in the region, it goes on growing finer and finer till it assumes its absolute state, which might well be presumed to be almost an extinction of ego. Raja Janak is Sita's father.
Yes. There is a beautiful book called Ashtavakra Gita. So there's a discussion between Janaka and Ashtavakra. Beautiful, actually. It's very, very sublime thoughts are there.
So go to the next page. One question I have about ego, where ego assumes a rarefied state. So is it something like we don't realize that there is an ego and it exists?
No, you see the avyakta gati, what he is talking of, that is beyond the 10th knot, as he has said. That means after prapanna gati, the prapanna gati mein you almost forget your awareness of yourself. Self-referential thinking will not be there at all. To that extent, for practical purposes, you can think the gross ego is gone. But there only awareness of God will be there. And awareness of yourself enjoying God also will not be there. So from there on, the negation keeps on going, and that is an infinite journey. So it's a question of degree, just like suppose air is dense next to the surface of the earth and all that. As it go up and it gets rarefied. And after about 3-4 kilometers, the air becomes less dense. And then in the same way, the ego becomes less dense. And that's why he uses the word towards infinity. So at what point you say it gets distinct, it's all mental, intellectual thinking. So we should not go beyond that. We should try to be conscious of God. And as more and more times that we retain that consciousness, mind cannot do two things. Either it can feel God or it can feel your own body or your own thought. Feel yourself or body. Two things it cannot do. So when it is feeling the presence of God, at that time, ego cannot operate. So ego doesn't operate for prolonged periods, it gets dissolved. It's a knot only created by avidya. It's a kink in your thinking, which has happened because of certain, Babu uses the word irony of fate, or since a time immemorial that ignorance has come. So there's a twist has happened in the thought energy, and that twist is maintained by society, by our name, and then by our notions and all that is maintained. But once the thought starts moving back towards the center, the twist gets untwisted and ego simply disappears. It is actually nothing, but it has acquired substantiality by our wrong thinking. So when wrong thinking goes, ego dissolves actually.
Like Master says, oneness with the God, not one. So maybe I am referring to that, to last line, that they presume to be almost extinction of ego. So your existence still remains to that level.
So it's a very, this we are entering to the realms of philosophy, unnecessary, because there's a huge debate chalta. People, Shankaracharya was the one who says there's no such thing called, there's only one reality, and that is Brahman. Everything is a manifestation of Brahman. But if you see now, Babuji says there's an identity there, till Mahapralaya identity is there. So that is clashing with Shankaracharya's view. And Shankara is a giant of a person. Intellectually, you cannot argue with him. You will always be defeated because he is such a brilliant mind actually. But then Vishishtadvaita says you are inseparably connected, but you cannot become same as God. So we'll all enter into all sorts of, Buddha comes, he says there's no such thing called God or soul. So we'll enter into all sorts of problems. Simple apna kaam karo.
Correct.
You move towards negation. That is what the idea is. Bas.
Yeah. I think
ये सब सोचने का जरूरत नहीं है. सोचे तो problems में उलझे रहते हो.
Right. So the basic understanding should be that we can never become God. We
can
only go to nearest.
He raises this question, Babuji raises, and other place he says, actually Advaita is correct only, he says in one of the letters. Isme aata in this book mein.
Okay.
But he says, suppose you say you are God, you get no help from God. So he says, we begin with duality, Dvaita. That means you are aware of yourself and God. And then you can pray to God, you get help from God. And with that you move towards God. And then finally oneness prevails. He uses the word oneness prevails everywhere, everything is the same. Right. That is equivalent to Advaita of Shankara only, in a way.
Right.
तो ज़्यादा मत सोचो उसके बारे में.
नहीं, to understand meaning of the word. Okay, we have 10 minutes. Should we continue with next, or it will take more than?
We'll stop it. Next time we had a lot of discussion today.
Right. Any other question from anyone?
Philosophy, Babuji himself has jokingly said, is just like searching for a black cat in a dark room which is not there. So philosophers try to, split hairs.
Absolutely.
Unnecessary problems.
We want to become yogi, not.
We want to
not
see that our mind is calm. Our simple idea is that your mind should be your slave. You should be a master. That's a simple idea. आपका बात सुन रहा है नहीं? Now you say that for 1 hour, my mind should be worshipping God. It should merge in God and stay in that location for 1 hour. बोलो तो सुन रहा है नहीं? बस. सुने तो you are going on the path correctly. Okay then.
Okay. Thank you so much.
Okay.
Namaste.